first agenda item is reviewing and approving minutes from June 1st, 2022. I thought they were great. Did everyone get a chance to review them? Did anyone have anything they needed to have shifted, edited? Okay, yeah, I thought it was great too. I'd like to make a motion to pass the minutes as written.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, awesome. Okay, quick rundown on past projects. Okay. Amy, I'm gonna circle back to the fire truck at the end. Okay, just so you know, in terms of the order from the notes that you have. So the update on what Wayfinders is the contract is now completed, which is exciting. The update on the Chestnut Street project is that the preservation restriction that we sent to Mass Historic has been returned to legal. They found a few small changes they wanted to make, but nothing major. It was more really simple little things. And so they're making those changes, and they expect to send it back to Mass Historic by Monday and expect it to be approved quickly after that. So that's exciting. The War Memorial Building, the facade restoration is complete. It looks great. It came in $600 over, and DPW is picking that up since it exceeds the grant amount. So they kind of did what they had to do on their end to make that work. Pulaski Park, the study for the wall is completed, and Chris, the new city engineer, and I met this week, and he is planning to come and present the findings of that phase 1 study at our September meeting. So we'll have a sense of what came out of that study and what we might be asked to do based on it. And I had thought that this project was like done and that the funding was moved back to general funding. But he actually said, and I talked to Bob Parent too, that they're planning on actually using a section of the money to go back out for a second part of the study, that they want to now, what they got was just the wall, and they didn't get anything about the walk, like the cracking, right? To figure out if there's any foundational work that has to be done before the wall is repaired. So they want to use the remaining funds to send it out and get more information on the cracking of the walk. So I have to talk more with Amy about what that means and if that even works, right? Or if they have to put that in as a new project, and then we'll go from there. But they're planning to come share with us in September the phase 1 study findings. Mayerfield Playground. The playground is completed. And it looks great. There's been some good chatter on Facebook where folks are cheering it and excited about using it. Definitely also some chatter like, oh, how come the fields haven't been improved, right? Like, nice playground, but it's next to stuff that doesn't look up to the scope of the playground, right? So one quick update on that is that they're using this company called Rainmakers to complete a sidewalk to the playground. Because right now you kind of park and you're like road, and then there's not really a great way to get yourself to the playground. So they're going to put in a sidewalk that'll go all the way up to the playground. So that's forthcoming, and they can pay for it within the grant. There's more than enough money to do it. And it will leave about $28,500 remaining in the grant we gave them to boost getting the field improvements done. Because the original thinking was that Parks and Rec was going to come through on the labor in kind on their own end. It's not happening. So, and it's, so anyway, like the piece they're trying to figure out is like, what does that look like to try to get field improvements done? So I have to talk to Amy around what that means and like if it can be done, but that's something that Bob Parent is trying to pursue and see if he can do. Okay. The MIFA murals. So I met with Megan Sealer at the Wisteria Hearst Museum to see if the MIFA murals project could work in that space. And she's identified, she's the director of Wisteria Hearst. She identified like a section of the upper hallway and the second floor that might work, doesn't have direct sunlight. And the piece that we're waiting on is the measurements on exactly the section that they want to display. And I think we'll have that by our next meeting, and then we'll be able to move forward on if it's doable or not. So we'll sort of go from there. And that is all I have for past projects. Amy, do you want to talk about the fire truck? Because I know that they had an issue where things came over bid and they weren't able to finish it, more funding.
Yeah, I think it was the chrome plating part of it was more expensive. And so after I got your email, they were asking how to handle that if it's more money than the award. And I thought that they could apply for more funding. Then I saw your email, Meg, saying maybe they could just make a request, and if you all voted for it, it could go back to city council. So I wrote back to Chief Tom Shea and said that, so I don't know if he's going to join this meeting. He may not have seen that email yet. It'll probably be a future meeting.
Yeah.
To request more funds to finish
I'm hoping that rather than them having to apply as if it's like a different project, they can just come to us and say, hey, because of all these issues that have come up with, supply chain, with increases in pricing, this is what's happened. Can you go back?
That makes sense because it's really the same project. It's not beyond, it's just that it came out costing more.
Totally. Michael?
Madam Chairman, what is the overage? How much over is that the chrome plating on the truck?
I don't know. Amy might have that. And if not, we can get
I don't really have that at my fingertips. I would have to look. I might be able to pull it up though on my email. Let's see if I can do that.
I mean, was it like, to your knowledge, 5,000, 10,000, 8,000?
I don't think it's that much.
I'm not sure.
I'm just looking back.
Well, while Amy's looking for that, does anyone else have any questions about all the other updates or anything else they want to voice? Israel, I don't know if you want to talk about the Mayor Field piece. I feel like he raised his hand but then froze. Israel, do you want to talk about the Mayor Field improvements? Has that come up in the commission at all?
Megan, is
there you go. I've been trying to unmute myself and I couldn't get it because I'm on the phone. Like it went to another page and I'm like, what? Hold on, let me go outside so that it's quieter real quick. So with the Mirror Field project, I'm on this. I mean, after what you said, it sounds like they have extra money that could possibly go towards the fields, right? Originally, when we applied for it, the fields were kind of included, but it was with the understanding of whatever was left over would go towards the field. But Parks and Rec would also try to take care of a lot of it in-house, which in a sense, like you mentioned, kind of is not happening or wasn't happening because of Terry's departure and a lot of other things at the same time.
Well, because that was that kind of in-kind donation. It was like the matching funds here is Parks and Rec is putting their labor forward, and that's driving costs
right
down. So without that happening, it's it's effectively like it's not exactly meeting the terms of the contract.
Right. So, and the piece where it comes down to it is the Terry piece of her resigning, and now we have a new director in place, and maybe us just having the conversation with the new director and revisiting what it is. Because Josh, I know I've had conversations with Josh on the side about it, and he's totally down with redoing the whole field. And I remember in the past, my argument more than the field was the fence, like because the fence looks like it's about to come down itself. It's all rusty, and it probably is a safety hazard on itself. The whole fence going across, especially when you install a brand new park. But according to John Tewig, the park we can do ourselves, especially with the new equipment that we should be purchasing with CDBG money. That should be able to help with the maintaining of all the fields now.
I know some sort of field improvement machine was purchased.
Yeah, it was like
what that means, like a special aerator or what, but.
Yeah, I know. That's the same thing. I'm under the same impression as you are. I'm just hoping that we give you what you asked for, and now you have to deliver. Right? That's the idea for me, and I believe. But whatever, if that extra funds can go towards the improvement of the field, that would totally help too at the same time. I think just the conversation next would be just talking to, I think it's Tom, right? Tom Reynolds.
So is he the new Parks and Rec?
Yes, he's the new director for Parks and Rec. I
So
mean, I talked.
we can
Go
ask
ahead.
him to come to our next meeting and just say, hey, we'd like to talk to you about this.
We could do that. I could actually meet with him tomorrow too. I was planning on meeting with him anyways, and bring it up to him, and then have him communicate it with the parks commissioner that is on CPA, which is Helene, right?
Yep. And she's here. Helene, do you want to weigh in? And then
Oh,
I saw Maribel's hand too.
Yeah, I'm on the phone, so I only see one person. I see Megan right now.
I know.
I mean,
Hi.
I don't
Oh,
really have
okay.
much more to add other than what Izzy already said. I mean, I started with CPC a little after this piece, but it is definitely like a citywide issue to have everything maintained the way that it needs to be. And, just to be clear, like Parks doesn't actually have that authority. That's with CPW. Right. So it is an issue around many parts of parks. I think it's fine. Obviously the more people that are making, saying how important it is for parks to be getting all of the, because there's funding, it's just things get pulled. Last summer was really much harder actually than this summer, I think. But anyway, so which is just to say that it's part of a problem. I mean, we at Parks can't even get like a fully clear schedule of when trash pickup is going to be at every park, and have that kept. So that's just a really challenging reality. And we had a big shift where, I mean, really, unfortunately, because Terry left and then there was someone else in the staff passed away, with Maureen. Yep. Still has been holding it down somehow for 6 months, on her own. So it's, Tom started about a month ago, I think mid June. So I think it's great to have him come and understand the CPC project, because, he'll be responsible for writing and submitting grants in the future and things like that to CPC. So I think that's, would be great to have him aware about the committee sooner than later. But so those are like my general comments. But it's, I don't honestly, I mean, maybe as you feel differently, but it's just, that's just the reality right now. And so it's a bigger issue that we're kind of trying to tackle.
Totally.
But,
well, yeah. And I also think though that like at this point, we've effectively been asked to do a park every year. So it's also a question of like, as this becomes something that we do as a committee, then what does it look like to expect Parks and Rec to then maintain those parks, or right? Like I just think it goes both ways.
But it's got to be clear though, that Parks and Rec doesn't, I mean, you can have Tom, but the person you really would want would be, and I don't know who it is right now, whoever is running DPW, because they're the ones that
that's currently
it's who? Because there is no head of DPW right now.
Right. But I guess
Amy's interim for the current time being.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Helene is correct technically, and that would be the same with any park project, Scotts Tower, any park project across the board. Like if we're gonna think about investing any money with regards to the parks, like across the board, yeah, we got to think about how the city's gonna be able to maintain all of them at the same time. But in my opinion, I don't feel that should stop us from doing what we're gonna do with like helping improving the parks to the extent that we need to do. It just, I mean, on my end on the city council, I'll try to push the issue as much as I can to make sure that Josh is supplying the DPW, technically not Parks and Rec, the park section of DPW with adequate funding come the following year to be able to maintain, especially if we're adding on and improving a lot of our parks and creating more access for the community overall. That might be a larger conversation to bring in Josh and some of the people in planning around it too as well. So that way we're doing it all together. But
What's Amy's last
with
name?
regards to
Interim
the
director?
which one? Amy, I can't pronounce it. I'd kill it. I'm sorry.
It's hard to pronounce. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I would say it's a Polish last name, or
Yeah.
that's
Just gonna say that.
yeah. It's not as easy as mine.
It's like Szurzanowski or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can find it. Okay, I think Maribel wanted to talk, and then Mary, and
I
then
just
Dr.
have
Helene. Sorry.
one last comment before with the regards to the park, and it has to do with like every year we've done a park or something. For me, while I was on the Parks Commission, I pushed the Terry Shepard to apply every year for a park, because specifically there are parks that do not fall under the CDBG encatchment zone. So the city has no means at all to improve those parks. And the only means they do have is CPA for them to improve the parks until we actually start. I mean, we had some funding this year, extra money, like free cash flow, but that a lot of that would not go towards improving our parks. That would probably go towards improving our systems within our city government, because if I know Josh, that's what he's more focused on right now. So yes, every year it feels like there was an application, and in my hopes, it would be good if it continued, because then we'd be able to do Jones Point. We'd be able to do all the other parks that are not in the catchment zone where CDBG can actually help out.
Berninder, where are you right now? I see a CPA fund sign.
You do?
Yeah, Graninder is at.
I'm at the park. I'm right at the park, looking at the work done.
Yeah. Mayor Field, right there.
Mayor Field.
Yeah, Mayor
yes.
Field.
Hi guys, I'm sorry. Where are you breaking up? Is it my internet or you guys?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
So yeah, I'm in Marefield. I'm sorry I was late. I couldn't get the connection right. So I said, when you guys start talking Mayor Rex, I was close by. I said, let me just go look over there, you know. They put maybe about 15, 20 feet. No, I'm okay. I'm in the meeting right now with the CPA. So we're checking the process. Thank you, bro. Thanks for checking. So you guys can hear me now?
Yes.
So I think about around 20 feet fence that was broken right in the entrance. They put that new piece. The rest is still old one. I think they're almost there. Looks good. Just from the entrance where the gate is, I see some. Everybody asking me if I'm okay. Park on the side. So like entrance right here, like little dirt pile. Need to move and clean up the park, and everything looks nice beside this.
That's
they
great.
did beautiful job.
I was there a couple weeks ago, and they had put in the playground, but they hadn't poured in the surfacing yet, so it didn't look complete.
I think yeah, they did. They put the surfing. Yeah, only thing this the pile right here. They need to I don't know who duty is that. I'm new to you guys. I'm just learning, and I don't know who duty is, like who cleans them, Park Rec or the DPW. So
I think that's the next question, is reaching out to the interim DPW director and also to the new Parks and Rec director, and just having a conversation, I think. Okay, I want to go to Maribel, because you had something to say a while ago. What were you thinking? You're muted.
are you talking to me?
No, I was Maribel's going to
sorry.
talk.
Sorry.
I just heard the name of the new director, the Mr. Reynolds, and I did talk to him today in regard of the Miranda plaque, and he said that he received that already. I guess it's gonna be, they're waiting for
The stone.
or something to like mountain, and then they're gonna like hopefully by the 31st it's gonna be by the 30th of this month it's gonna be already like at the park. I just wanted to give that update.
Yeah, I hope. And so maybe if you stay, and this is sort of later in the agenda too, but hopefully you can stay in communication with them and find out like when are they doing their unveiling? Is it like a ribbon cutting? Is it a? Because it'd be great to know when that is too.
He said that probably that's gonna be at the beginning of August.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
The beginning of what?
All right.
Of next month.
August.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Mary and then Helene.
Okay, so my first question is, what is the gentleman's name? Tom what?
Reynolds.
Tom. What is it?
Reynolds.
Tom
I can
Reynolds.
put it in the chat.
Reynolds.
I'll
Okay.
put it in the chat.
Okay. And the other two questions, it sounds like what we're saying is that there's a change in the use of the dollars on a couple of these old, past projects. So you mentioned something just a little bit about the fire truck, then the Mayor Field, and also, you didn't explain to Izzy yet, but there was the whole discussion last time in regards to how would we, make this change of use of funds known to the city council, or how would we do it? And
So I think MIFA is different in that the scope of work really is changing significantly versus like Mayor Field always said playground and field improvements. So there was
Okay,
always enough wiggle room to use the funding for it. Same thing with the Pulaski Park study. It's more just that like on our end, we thought they were done. And they're like, well, no, actually we need the second phase, but it's totally within the scope of the work as it's expressed in the contract. So it's more just, us kind of following up with those older projects and seeing like as they're actually being implemented, is it a little different than we thought? How is the money being expended? I do think the MIFA project is more complicated, and I don't think we're going to know. I think we'll probably know more by the September or October meeting, and then we'll go to city council, or we'll just tell them to completely reapply.
okay, so I guess my concern had to do with the business of the contract. Whenever we write the contract, I guess we have to be mindful to keep it flexible enough, or to be able to put something in there that says, like as for example, what you said that we did with Pulaski and with Mayor Field, where, it was one project we were focusing on, but that there were other things that could be covered by it. So I guess it's the original contract. And then, as you said, the MIFA is a little different. And I hope that we will be able to have a discussion with Izzy about that before, because of his position on city council before the end of the night.
Yeah. So like, if I could speak to the MIFA thing, I've been watching and hearing about it, and I think at the council they've been hearing about it too. It's different. As Meg mentioned, it's a different, a little more complex. I'm not gonna say extremely complex. It's just like the change of the ask of the request of the original grant is kind of different. It doesn't fall in line. So even with like the Pulaski Park project, it's a study so that we can find out what it would take to be able to fix it, right? Or to get to that point. Yeah, originally it was the wall, but the idea is it's a study so us to find out what it would take to fix it. So if the bottom cracks on the bottom of the wall is part of it, I can see how that's incorporated still into it, because the overall goal is to do whatever it takes to get it to the fixing of the state. Whereas like, I remember when he came onto the council he came in front of the council for something different, and this came up, and they kind of came at him about it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't an easy conversation.
I think we'd have to, as the scope of the work gets solidified, I think we'd have to bring it to city council for a vote. I don't think it's something that we can, it's significantly different enough that I think we're going to have to bring it because the terms are different than they originally voted on. So I think it would have to be brought to them as a vote in the fall. And then they can vote to say yes, and we can move forward, or they can vote no.
Or yeah, because if you don't, they're probably going to take it apart. I mean, they'll probably separate it at council and then vote yes on 2 projects and then separate that one out and then ask you guys a lot of questions.
Well, this one is its own project. It's already been approved and the funding has already been encumbered. So it's different, you know, like it has to come on its own. I don't think it can be brought forward with any other project.
Okay.
And I think we just have to say within the scope of the funding that's already been promised, but here are the terms that have shifted. Do you approve these shifts? Yes or no?
And then when is the next funding cycle to beginning?
Technically, it's already started. So the historic applications for eligibility is up on the website, and historic projects, because of the workflow that I showed you guys a few months ago, is now into effect. Historic is earlier. So the historic eligibility application is due September 1st. And that's so that they have a full month to find, you know, for us to really do our research. And this is sort of moving us into the next agenda item. So maybe I'll pause there. Helene, do you have something to say about past projects? And then I'll move us to current projects and we'll talk about historic and legal and Girls Inc. and all that stuff.
Sure. I really was just kind of put my hand up about the conversation we were having a little bit earlier. So, but I just to kind of like put kind of a fine point on that. I feel like I need to make this clear wherever I go because there is so much misunderstanding within the city. It's just this issue around what Parks has control of in terms of what's going on. And I am hopeful that the current situation will not last. But I think before any big changes happen, DPW needs to have, that's my understanding from the mayor.
Yeah, they have to have a leader.
You have to have a leader, and then the leader and parks leader can like work out how this gets done, because you know these are funds that are supposed to be used for parks, which is why we're very concerned if they're ever not, right? If anything is not being done that should be done. And so I just want to kind of just like frame that you know, I think it's great to have Tom come and to develop that relationship, for him to know a little bit more about what CDC does as he's getting up and running, you know, in this new position. But certainly Terry Shepard, you know, really bore the brunt of people expecting her to, that, you know, there were things weren't happening in the parks in terms of maintenance and trash collection, and it was her fault. And so I just, you know, as much as possible, just to kind of, you know, holding people accountable is super important, but also just to make it clear that, you know, that is not something that he or Terry Shepard really, like in the past, can completely control. And so just want to always make that clear and get the word out into the community, because, you know, every time on Facebook, it's an issue with something in a park, whether it's a city park or the state park, people are always like, oh, call Parks and Rec and complain to them. And that's a little bit dispiriting if you were, if you don't have that control. So I just kind of want to just like, that's my little PSA for the next.
It all flows downhill, right? Because we similarly, when people post stuff about Mayor Field, about our work, they're like, wow, CPA, way not to fix the field. So it all flows down in terms of like who gets blamed for it, you know? And yes, it's not fair. And hopefully it gets fixed 100%. Okay, so FY22 projects, I wanted to share a little bit about the meeting that I had with Kathy Degnan to follow up from the city solicitor's office and their relationship with the Girls Inc. project and what they ended up deciding. So effectively, what came out of my meeting with her is that, you know, they're really trying to understand and define the scope of work for historic projects, what is maintenance and repair versus what is preservation and rehabilitation, restoration, et cetera. And it's a really cloudy thing that's really connected to context, which I think was perhaps not originally well understood, and yet now they're trying to nail it down, and it's kind of like, you know, trying to nail down the corner of a ghost. Like, how do you put in writing exactly what is really complicated. It's not as simple as saying, well, if it's above 30%, then we'll say it's restoration, but under that it's just maintenance. That doesn't really apply, right? Because what if you have someone that only has 10% of their you know, roof that has to be fixed, but it's causing huge structural issues with water damage? Well, then maybe it's tied to, right? So it's so much more complicated, and basically defines definitions. So as they were trying to figure out how could we put on paper what those definitions would be for your applicants, they effectively found that it was almost impossible to do so. So in the case of the Girls Inc. project, they approved funding for the brickwork, but not for the roof, with the feeling that because it was only 9% of the slate roof, that was really more about repair and maintenance, and was not about restoration. And it was on the basis that nowhere in the application did it specify specific structural issues this was causing, or water damage, or that sort of thing. So they saw it more as routine maintenance than as something that was really tied to capital improvement or to restoration. So, and of course, talking to the applicant afterwards, you know, she was like, well, of course there's water damage, but we never thought to name that. Like, that's why you fix a roof, right? So I think a lot of it is us working with the applicants to ask them questions like this. In what way is this work tied to capital improvement? Is this about maintenance or repair, or is this important in some way to saving this building? Is there existing damage that, you know, you're trying to rectify, right? I think we can sort of push to make sure that they're including details that can then help us to explain why we think something is eligible, given the city solicitor's current concerns, right? And that extends to certain city councilors as well. So that is sort of where we're at. And so, you know, when we see projects coming forward, which I'm sure we will, that have to do with brick and slate, because welcome to Holyoke, we have a lot of it. I think we're going to just keep working with applicants to make sure that they're making their case in light of the concerns that they have. And the historic workflow means that historic applicants have kind of an earlier timeline. So they have to get their eligibility application in by September 1st, which gives us a whole month, right, to work with them to make sure that we're on the same page as a city solicitor around why we're giving eligibility to projects before we give them eligibility, which I don't think we'll do every year, but this year in particular, it makes sense to do that to make sure we're all on the same page, because I don't want to go through that again. And then they will all be going to the October Historic Commission meeting together to present their work, to hear back from them on if they think the scope of work is appropriate. Is it in line with the standards of the Department of the Interior? Do they think that preservation restriction will be approved by Mass Historic? All of those questions will sort of be meted out in that October meeting with the Historic Commission. And we expect about, you know, in general, we've had 4 to 5 historic applicants each year. Okay, thoughts, questions about that? Israel, I see your hand up.
I guess the only comment I would make is yeah, we should be working with the applicants to make sure that we don't run into this again. But at the same time, I feel like some of this could have been avoided if we had more of a closer relationship with legal too, and working with legal. So that way, when it came down the pipeline, it wasn't like fresh eyes on an application. If Attorney Degnan probably knew the intention from the beginning and probably understood what was happening with regards to the scope of practice from the beginning, her opinion possibly could have been a different outcome versus
I totally agree.
You know what I mean? Versus it coming to her because Kevin Jourdain said something. You know what I mean?
Right. But until we needed it, we didn't need it. Right. And it is the work of our committee, not the city solicitor's office, to do this kind of due diligence. And so it's a little bit of oversight that I don't even think is really appropriate. But I need us to get on the same page so that if things move forward in the future and there's more issues, that, like, to your point, there's that basis of knowledge that they currently they need to develop. in order
I
to
agree.
come up with opinions that are going to support our work.
Right. I agree with you 110%. It does feel like it's another or a piece of oversight that it should not. They should not have that mechanism in place, or it should not be able to be that much of a power structure with regards to the avenue that they use or that was used for this project to get scrutinized so much. But it could be avoided if we plan ahead of time. But we didn't know. We didn't know, right? And I'm sorry, my daughter just has a lot to say right now. But yeah, that'll be all for me.
All right, Helene and then Mary.
Mary had her hand up first. Oh, unless you want me to go, I can go.
Sorry, I didn't hear anything.
Oh, can you hear me? No? Not
Okay.
really. Hello? Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
That's strange. Oh, I was just saying that I thought Mary's hand was up first, but I think I'm going to go off video. Like my connection has been really messy all day. So I was just wondering if, I know this was addressed before and potentially it could be something where we could have like time carved out at a meeting or like a sub kind of meeting with solicitor, but I mean, we're not the only CPC in the state. There's a lot of historic communities. There's just a lot going on. And so it felt like this came out of a little bit left field in terms of this concern and this kind of incredible hair splitting. And so I'm just wondering, like, it would be great to hear if, the other, like what the approach is others have taken. And we certainly don't have to take like the
Yeah.
to discuss it now.
And we've shared that with City Solicitor Degnans,
Right.
and they're going to do what they're going to do.
Yeah,
You
but I
know,
guess
like
for us, but for us to be able to articulate and talk about this, it would be great for us to like have, and it doesn't have to be everyone, but it would be good to like really kind of get a sense to maybe some similar projects in other cities and whether those have been challenged or not, because that goes to, one person's, it's I certainly read the original opinion, and there's concerns about what was included. So,
Well, maybe we can spend a good chunk of our meeting in September just going through a few applications together and talking about eligibility. This is something that Amy's owned as her role as the staffer, to do the research, to check in with legal, to check in with Stuart Saginar, and to provide to the committee a list of here's what I think is eligible. And then generally we go for that, right? We support, what her recommendations are. But we have so many new people on the committee that it might make sense to spend some time in the September meeting just looking at one or two together, because I think it would sort of grow our collective knowledge too and help us be consistent and sort of, collectively knowledgeable. Amy and then Mary.
I just wanted to mention that when I look through the applications, I definitely think about the issue of, is this some like a maintenance issue? And there is a question on the application that asks, kind of gets at that. And I did talk to them, and ask more questions like about the condition of the building to try to assess if this was like, and they told me, when they told me there was water damage and bricks falling off, it sounded like it was pretty serious, like that it was affecting the envelope of the building, and when I'm not sure of some project, I'll then, try to run it by Stuart Saginar at the coalition. He's very busy. He works with like over 350 communities. So sometimes he doesn't get back, for a long time. But he can't look at every single project. And, I'm not, an architect or an engineer that I can know exactly, how to interpret all of these details. And it's very hard to interpret them, as Stuart even has said. So I don't know. I was surprised by the way that this was, how this all came about with, and the requirement that the city solicitor weigh in.
It's not a
Amy, whose
requirement.
requirement is that?
It's not a requirement.
No,
Should
I
be
meant
there.
I meant the requirement that came from Kevin Jordan and city solic and the city council. I know it's not a requirement at all, and
Well, how are you defining, Amy, how are you defining the requirement from Kevin Jordan? How are you defining that? Is that a
no,
legal
I'm just,
requirement?
they voted that it was contingent on a legal opinion. That's what, and he advanced that idea,
That is-
and they
That is
agreed to it.
correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Which hopefully doesn't happen again. But you know, to
So
Izzy's point,
when I was there, I was pushing just to vote for it without the legal opinion. And I had it almost there, but then put it in the league. Like, oh, you know, it could be this, it could be that. Because I mean, to know, like, I don't want to play blame to anybody, and I'm the person that blames. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was you, and it's your fault. But like with Kathy, I honestly believe that if we walked her along the running, she would have had a different opinion. I honestly believe that. You know what I mean? But because of the hoopla and the hollering and all the screaming that came about her, I feel like she had a different perspective on how she went about it. You know what I mean? And that influenced her perspective in that opinion. Maybe it would have been different if we would have worked with her from the beginning throughout the process. Because throughout the process, once those questions would have came up, she would have had the answers right off the rip, and it wouldn't have been, oh well, let me do an opinion and let me think on that. But she would have answered right there immediately.
yeah, I mean, I guess I just want to say though that I don't think we did anything wrong by not. I mean, we didn't have anyone in legal that even was working with us consistently for years. Like Kathy Degnan was like a new person, you're working with her. And we had a hard time having her draft contract. So Amy took it on.
Right.
So like the amount of support we've been able to get from legal is like this much. And then suddenly they're very involved in things. Right. So that feels hard from a chair's perspective in terms of like how that went. Right. And so like now they're involved and they want to be involved. Okay, then you can be involved so that like
So now we hold them
potentially
accountable to that involvement.
well, I'm just saying it doesn't seem to go both ways.
No, I
Amy's
get what
writing
you're
the
saying.
contracts.
I totally get what you're
You know?
saying, and I'm with you 110%. Like I've been here with you for a while, and before our legal was actually Mimi. like it was Mimi who was doing a lot of the legal stuff then, right?
Mm-hmm.
And none of us are now lawyers, at least not that I know of, right? And so we're just relying on Amy, which she's doing the best she can, right? So if legal is going to weigh in on opinions and do this every once in a while, then it makes sense that legal is involved with the process. So that way this is not happening. Like that doesn't make sense. That should not be happening. We're not trying to put something forth to the council that quote unquote is illegal, right? That's not what our intention is. We're trying to follow all the rules and guidelines to the best of our ability. And if our legal department feels like they're going to weigh in on things and do all that, then they should help us through the process, which is what I agree with. That's pretty much what you just said. I'm sorry.
I'm also just gonna name I have to that opinion, the original one, is cited to Wikipedia. Okay, so
I know.
and that I'm a lawyer. I've never cited to Wikipedia in anything I've ever done. So there's concerns, right? And so for us to really understand if this is kind of what we're getting back, and for Izzy to understand too that if that's something that comes up in the future, it's sort of like, okay, then the legal opinion has to be of a certain level of research and quality. So I'll just say that.
I mean,
City
usually
Council didn't push back on it in terms of pushing back and saying, well, did you have significant conversations with the committee? Did you have significant conversations with the applicant? Which they didn't. Did you have significant conversations with the CPA coalition? Or like none of that happened, right? So I think that's really hard. And like, yes, I agree. We can do our part moving forward here to mitigate, which is what I feel like we're doing. Which is when I met with Kathy Degnan, I said, okay, let's meet. When all the historic applications come out for eligibility, we're going to sit down and put them all on the table. And you and me and Amy will look at them. And we're going to talk about why we're giving them eligibility.
is that
Because
really?
I need us to have a foundation moving forward where we're not going to be undercut.
Mhm.
right? Because someone just doesn't understand the process, because this is really complex work. And unless you've been in applications as deep as Amy has been, where you're reaching out to the applicant, you're following up with follow-up questions. And like the other piece I've learned is that we have to document everything, right? And not for city projects, because those are never going to be the issue. But for certain projects, we have to be smart. We now know that there's a contingent of folks who are like really against any nonprofit that is in the city. And so if you have a nonprofit, you know, who is trying to get work done on a building, we're going to have to be really thoughtful about asking them a lot of questions, and it can't just be on email. We have to say, great, put this as an addendum to your contract, write this up on a letterhead, you know, we're going to include this as an addendum to your application, and we're going to have everything documented, so that when it has to be reviewed, it's all there if another legal challenge comes up. I don't think this is the last one. I think it very much could happen again the next time we have a nonprofit who has a building in the city who wants historic work done. And I have 2 that I know are coming forward, likely this year. So I just feel like we have to, you know, whatever's that phrase is about like planning is the thing to do, that one. All right, Mary, your hand was up.
Okay, so a general thing and a specific thing. First of all, generally, I'm not in favor of giving anybody more work, certainly not Amy. It sounds like there's already enough for her to do. And it sounds like you've already discussed a way of getting it done. So that's good. And I also agree with you that it's going to happen again, and you really can't control it. So I think we have to kind of put it into perspective and decide, you know, how we're going to go forward. And the specific thing is MIFA. In that case, should we be saying to MIFA, come back with a new project? And that way they would be beginning their project right now with the historic applications. So I'm thinking maybe we should, you know, just tell them to come back with a new application.
We talked about that back and forth for months.
Well, would it give them a smoother path, especially if you're already opening the door to discussion about the historic applications?
No, I don't
It
think
would
so,
not give
only
them-
because they
I
already
think they have a smooth pass regardless.
yeah, right. Like they already have the funding encumbered, and it would be given that you've already voted for this, can we use it a little differently? I actually think that's a smoother path than, hey, we're coming to you again. I know you already did this for us once, but could you do it again? We're rebooting it under different terms. But I don't know if either is a smooth path. So Mary, I'm hearing that you would like to do that. Is there anyone else that wants to just vote to say, no, it's significantly different enough that they have to just reapply? Because the sense I got last time was there wasn't an appetite for that without trying this other route first.
Yeah, the sense I got was that it was a mix. It was like
Yeah,
a 50-50.
I know you think that they should reapply. Amy thinks they should reapply. Israel?
I would agree with the reapply piece, but I mean, the thing for me is like, if we're looking for the road that is the easiest for them to continue to at least get the funding, I think it's the fact that the money's already encumbered, and try to ask for permission to just switch, like just change, alter the situation. Because honestly, I know that they've been in front of the council a couple times already, and the council is not too welcoming with regards to MIFA. I mean, I'll vote yes for it all day, but like I'm telling you that they have a hard time when they come to the council to ask for money. So if they already got money already encumbered, it makes sense to just kind of like just go through that see that through. But if you guys want to go ahead and ask them to reapply, that makes sense to me too, because it is kind of a different project. I just think that it's going to be harder to get a yes now than it would have been with the yes that you already got.
Yes, that's how I feel as well. Fernando?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm agree with you guys. You know, I'm. It's gonna be a while for me to learn all the work you guys do, hard work out there. But I'm agree. I think they should reapply. You know, that is my concern.
Okay.
Um,
Michael?
Can you say that again? Can you
He
say
thinks
that
they
again?
should reapply.
yeah, they should reapply.
Michael, what do you think?
No, I don't think I think we're making a mountain out of a molehill. These are reasonable requests they're making. The nature of the project is still the same. I don't think they should reapply. I don't think we should make them reapply. It's a matter of, quite frankly, semantics, and there's nothing extraordinarily different from one to the other. I see no need for them to reapply.
Marco, what do you think?
In this case, I think that reapplication won't change anything. I think it's a smoother process, but maybe we should reevaluate when the scope is significantly different.
Yeah, right now the scope isn't even that clear, right? Like we're still waiting to know if Asteriahurst is a site where the panel could be kept. You know, if the
Oh, I
answer
thought it
is
was not.
no, then there may not even be a scope of work that makes sense here, right? Then it's like talking to the Board Memorial, like it's, again, like we don't quite have the scope yet.
So we could take a stand and just say that, you know, we've drifted too far from the original scope, even though it's the same parent, you know, affiliation. It's just too different than what was originally proposed, but it changed so incrementally, and I think maybe in small steps, so that maybe it didn't seem as big, you know, when we were in the middle of it.
I think if they come back, they'll ask for double the money. Straight up.
Yeah.
Right?
Madam Chairman, we're referring to the mural project. Is that correct?
Yeah, but like when they
That's what I meant. Yes, that's
when
what
they
I was
worked with
talking
Jeff Green said, actually, no, I don't think you can do it for 105. I think it's closer to 205 or 210.
Well,
So I
if that's
think
the case,
if they do reapply, and like when we had our last conversation with Don Sanders said, as the director of NEFA, like, well, we have that cash on hand. We would put that forward to make the murals, restored.
so what's the
Versus,
problem?
I think if they do reapply, I think it's likely they'll ask for more.
Well, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. We're presuming they will. We have no factual evidence or a new contract that they would. This is just we're just making things up as we go along. Like I said, it's.
But then we're talking about potentially doing this thing. So it's just something
Madam
else.
Chairman, we could be here all night. Potentially.
Well, we're not, because we only have one more person to ask, which is Mary. No, Maribel. Do you think they should have to reapply, or no, we try this alternative route of bringing this separate scope of work to City Council?
I think they should like keep it the way it is, not reapply.
All right. So I got 3 strong. Okay. So I have 2 strong yeses, 5 no's, although a lot of those no's could support a reapplication. I don't think we're there yet as a committee.
All right.
Let's see how the scope of work can be defined. If it can be defined by September, and then we will talk about it again. But I want to move on because I want to keep us going. Okay, so I want to move the check-in on communication with FY22 recipients up on the agenda just because it's so fast, and then we'll go to the merry-go-round. So we've already heard about from Maribel that the Mary Miranda plaque is done. They're just waiting for the stone. They're hoping to put it in early August. The update on the stained glass project from City Hall, from the city engineer, is that they got matching funds, which is great, for the project up to $55,000. So they're going to be able to package that together with the $80,000 we gave them and be able to do 2 windows from the east side, they're hoping. So they're going to be able to put that forward and bid it out, right? And see how many windows they can get done, knowing that costs have gone up, right? So is it they can get 2 big windows done, one large window, 2 small ones, right? They're going to bid it out and see what they can get done and get as much done as they can. If they keep going the way that they're going with kind of doing 1 or 2 windows at a time, we're still like 2 or 3 rounds away from being done. But at least there's a sort of end in sight. For Wisteria Hearst, they ran into an issue when they put it out to bid that because it goes over a certain amount of money, they need to get someone with a very specific certification, which no one really has. And so as a result, they have to effectively have a contractor who has that certification, who will then subcontract the painting out, which unfortunately makes it more expensive. But they're going through the process to do that now. They were hoping to get everything in line so they could paint it this fall, because they have an issue with the wisteria vines that they really have to do it as a fall painting project instead of a spring painting project. And so if they can't get it done this fall, they might have to wait and do it next summer or fall, in terms of getting the painting done. So those are the updates from FY22, unless anyone else has anything else from anyone they're checking in with. Okay, awesome. So Susan Leary, you had sent a letter to the committee asking for an extension. Do you want to walk us through where the project's at and why you're asking for an extension?
Hi, how are you? I'm Sue Leary. I'm from the Holyoke Merry-Go-Round Board of Directors. We are asking for an extension due to the fact that COVID hit. The museum that we use, the New England Carousel Museum, was closed all during COVID. When they reopened, they had a backlog of restorations, and we have now just got our first 2 horses. It's kind of exciting. It was the first time I had ever been down to that museum. I recommend it if anybody has any interest in it. They also have a fire museum attached to it. That was really cool to see. But we did get 2 horses off. We got our lead horse off, Lancelot, and we got a second horse named Captain Jake off. I have a slideshow if you'd like to see a couple of quick pictures. I'll be fast. I know this, you'd rather have a meeting go quicker, but let me see if I can remember how to do this.
Yeah, that was great.
It's been a while. It's maybe. I'm not sure it's letting me go to what I want to try to share. All right, I'm sorry. I thought I was so good at this. And now, oh, wait a minute. Are you going?
She was having fun over there. She started writing all over herself.
Hey, Rivera, do you mind put yourself mute, please? If you don't mind.
When I go on share, it's putting me on mute automatically. I'm not sure why. But what I'll do is I'll share it. I'll just quickly fly through them, and then I'll share this with you so that you can read through some of the things. But we did get them down there, and I can show you what their museum looks like real quickly. I'll try to see if it stays off mute, but I don't know if it's my computer or if it's the sharing part. Hold on. No. Come on. All right. I was so excited to show you this, and it won't let me share now.
Where'd Lancelot go?
I had it. Did you see it at all? The beginning?
Oh yeah. When you were sharing screen, you saw it.
Picture.
Yeah, I can't get it. I went on to mute, and now I can't get it to come back on. I have a borrowed computer, and I was supposed to be getting the new one back, and I think it might be the mouse on this one. Let me try one more thing. Oh, I did. All right, if I go on mute, I'll come back as quick.
Susan, we see the calendar, just so you know. You might have shared the wrong screen. Susan, if you want to email me the presentation really quick, I'm happy to share it.
Every time I go on there, let me get that. I'm trying to email you, Meg. Give me 1 second. Okay, Megan, I just emailed it to you.
Okay.
You know what, I'll tell you as she gets it, we had what we thought was going to be an issue with getting the stander off. The stander is our outside row. When we got there, it did take us about an hour to get it off, but we thought it was going to be a lot harder than that. And we had 5 very strong young men helping, which really helped a lot because those horses are quite heavy once they come off. But we were able to get the stander off. And then at that point, we were able to get the jumper off quite quickly and onto the truck and down to the museum. And they're hoping to get on them immediately. What they're going to do is to create, as soon as they start, they're going to create a Google slide and a Google Doc, and they're going to share that with us, and we can share that with you, and you can go in at any point in time to see where the stages of the restoration that are going on. This is at this point they decided that they needed to grease it a little. It wasn't moving. We were getting really nervous that we weren't going to be able to get it off. And then they went up to the top and added some grease on there. The next one shows you that 5 of them had to unscrew those poles, but with all that muscle power, we did get the pole off, and Lancelot came off quite beautifully. No damage at all to the horse as we got it off. And then the next, Captain Jake, is right next to Lancelot. So once we got Lancelot off, it was easier. The next slide will show you that we could just take him and almost pull him outward and then off, which was something that we were never able to do when we took other horses off because there was always a horse in that row. So that was interesting to find out that made more sense too when we were taking something off. And it is bittersweet only because it's empty, not because they're gone. We know what they're going to come back looking like. This is them in the truck, all nice and loaded in and patted down. Took us about an hour to get down to Bristol. This is the museum. I just put that on just in case you were interested what's going on down there, but it's a really cool museum. I want to get my grandkids down there. The next one is just getting it off the truck. That's Morgan Ergo is the new executive director. I took that off their website. There is another picture of her, the next one. She was so gentle and so wonderful, so knowledgeable. She walked us around as first this is Captain Jake, as they were trying to get him onto a stand so that he would just be nice and safe. Behind her elbow is actually Lancelot. Lancelot's already been put on. I thought I had put those on the slide too, but she has little soft foam things that she put underneath their hoofs so that they're gently holding on to the board that they're on, and this pole goes on them that they're standing up. This is Donna, who was standing at the time. She's one of their back workers. I'm not exactly sure of her title, but she gets it prepared for the master carver to come in and see anything that he has to do to add anything on. This, I should have got a different ankle, but this is a different horse, not our horse, but a horse that's ready to be painted. This is the room where they go to paint them. She brought us in there to show us what that looked like. And then I think there's just some pictures of horses they've already restored on the left. The horse on the right I put there specifically, they are going to be putting that gold plate, and also the silver is actually a metallic paint and then silver aluminum put on top of it so that it looks absolutely stunning when it comes back. So very excited about what that's going to look like when they come back on. And then I just happened to go on their Facebook page, and this is what they put on for us. So they've asked us if we would hit social media to tell who they are. And we've told them we will definitely do it because we're going to be making sure that we have the world understand that this came about because of this committee also. So you will be part of our social media campaign too.
Yeah, we can definitely share it too. That's awesome. Woo. Well, thank you so much for this awesome presentation. I really appreciate it. Okay, so effectively the extension is for 10 months.
We've asked them, they told us it would take approximately 4 months for these 2 horses, and then we have 2 more that would go. It would be another 4 months. We also would like to give a little leeway in case something happens in between with them, whether they get, they're doing Sunny's Park out of Enfield also, and there's quite a few horses in there that they restore. But we also have in our application stirrups and straps, and I'm not sure I'm saying them all, I should have it in front of me. One of the things that we're waiting for, Jay Ducharme is in touch with a park in New York. I should have written that one down too. I apologize. It's in New York. When they close in October, they have a mold for the stirrups. They're not leather. They're like they'll be attached to the horse, and they have an actual mold. They're going to take one off. They have an actual one that they're going to take off. And we're going to bring it and have a mold created so that we can start having those made for our horse also. So as soon as we can get that started, that would probably be about October. So that would give us that little bit of time to get those going too in the process of these horses being done.
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant? I think it might make sense just to round up and give a year. Any other questions?
From me? Okay.
Yeah.
So do you need a motion to offer an extension for a year?
Yep.
So moved.
I moved.
No. Go ahead,
Second.
Mary.
No, you got it. Second.
That was good timing, you two. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, although I couldn't tell you who was the motion and who was the second. They were both. Is there any further discussion or questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you so much for coming to present, Susan. It's also just really great to see the progress pictures. It's fantastic. So thank
Yeah, that
you
was
for
great.
sharing
And
that.
we'll be sending you as they go along. I will make sure that you have access to that Google Doc that they're going to share with us to see the progress as it goes.
Awesome. All right, thank you so much.
Really great. Thank you.
Lovely. Okay, we have 2 quick things left, and my goal is that we're out by 7:30. So let's be efficient, people. Okay, we have a discussion of shifting the regular meeting day, and also a conversation that I want to have under other, which is the videos are done, and so I want to have us have an unofficial gathering at the Oregon building in Louis Salazar studio where we can hang out and watch the videos together. We can bring food, we can hang, which we have not been able to do ever, basically, with this current group of folks because of COVID and everything else. So I would like to have us come up with a time in August to do a watch party. And the giveaway there is that I don't think that we need to have an August meeting. We don't have anything crazy pressing that needs to be resolved in August. And so and August is also just sort of a vacation time, right? Like people are sort of in the thick of summer. Even getting a quorum tonight was sort of hard, right? It took us 15 minutes to get started. So I'd like us to not have an official meeting in August, but talk about if we're going to change our meeting day permanently starting in September. There's also the possibility that by September or October, we'll move to a hybrid meeting structure, which means that we'll start meeting in person with the option for folks to Zoom in. moving forward. The hybrid piece is not going away in the city, although I think the idea is that hopefully people start from commissions coming back in person to meet, and the Zoom option is more so that there can be more easy public engagement, right? So someone like Susan Leary can be at home at her kitchen table prepping dinner, right, while she's waiting to have her 10 minutes, right, of the meeting where she's asked to speak, right? So I think the idea of moving forward with hybrid from the city's perspective is more to make sure that there's always that sort of increased public accessibility. So it's just easier. So those are things that I wanted to throw on the table. The main reason to talk about if we want to shift our regular meeting day is that Israel Rivera has a parenting class that he's running Wednesdays and Thursdays. It makes it almost impossible for him to be here. And especially where we sort of see increased oversight, I think it's important for us to make sure that our city council rep is here, right, and really can speak knowledgeably about the conversations we're having. So I'm wondering if it's possible to change our meeting day to one of the Mondays of the month. And if the answer is no, then the answer is no, right? But it's a discussion around, like, is that possible? I know that I've heard that Historic Commission is the second Monday, but maybe we could meet the first Monday or the third Monday or the fourth Monday of the month starting in September.
I don't have a problem generally with Mondays. I think my only question is there's just a lot of Monday holidays, and so that can make it all challenging because people, it's a day to be with your family, essentially, in a way. So
it would have to be like if it's a Monday holiday, we meet the following week. Like, right. We'd have to name that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But otherwise, I think that, and would, really want Izzy to be available. So I'd be supportive of that.
And if I may, I apologize that we'd have to switch. This is because of my new job, right? that I had to take on. So we run parenting programs. First, we started in Holyoke and Springfield, but in the fall, we're going to launch 4 more programs. So it's going to be Holyoke, Springfield, and Chicopee. So usually the best days for parents is Wednesdays and Thursdays to do those after those evening programs. I can't attend all of them, so I can come to some of these sometimes every once in a while. But I also have city council on Wednesdays too, which created a larger conflict where I got city council, CPA, and my job. So it's like I could skip out on one and maybe join in on a second, but by the time I go into the third, the meeting's already gone. Yeah.
The other option would be, based on that, the other option would be Tuesdays, although I don't know if that works for people either. Because I think that I'm looking at the calendar, and you're right, Helene. So there's let's say that we picked the third Monday, and that would be fine until January, although January is funky anyway. We normally don't have normal meetings. We normally have those 2 public presentation days that are normally together, or sometimes they're 2 randomly on a Wednesday or Thursday. But then there are some third Mondays, like Juneteenth, and so we'd have to if we pick the third Monday, we would just have to know that sometimes we'd have to do the fourth Monday, or just be thoughtful about that.
Why don't we just do the fourth Monday, Madam Chairman?
Because that also has issues. Because there are other holidays on the fourth Mondays.
Well, so be it. I mean, we're asking for perfection here. If it's not possible, if we miss a Monday or 2, we'll go to the next Monday or the prior Monday. Right. Let's just make it it's okay with everybody. What's wrong with either the third or the fourth Monday? And if there's holidays, we just adjust it accordingly.
Yeah, I think the third Monday is better than the fourth, because the fourth hits Halloween, Christmas, it's a bunch of ones that I know we won't do.
Take a straw poll. I can do it. Anybody else?
Yes.
Can other folks do the third Monday? Okay. All right. Well, let's take a crack at it. Right? Let's see if it works.
Either a Monday, because I'm still fresh. I'm at this point, Wednesday afternoon, evening.
I'm sorry, Helene, I missed all of that.
Oh, I just said that Monday evenings, I think I'm definitely still fresh and my brain is still working, and and I'm on the way down at this point on a Wednesday evening. So, you know, I think doing it earlier works for me, generally speaking.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's try the third Monday, starting in September. And I want to talk about doing a watch party in August. So when I talked to Louis Salazar, he can do most Mondays and Tuesdays in August. So like August 8th or 9th, 15th or 16th, or the 22nd or 23rd. And so I was going to ask if we could do the 9th or the 16th to start with, if either of those dates worked for the majority of the committee.
It's okay with me, but anybody else? And I don't know, any one of them are good, Meg.
Okay.
What's wrong with Monday?
He's only available because he's hosting at the Oregon building. So he's only available Tuesdays and Wednesdays because he has other meeting dates.
9 and 16. 9 works for me.
Okay. So the 9th?
Yeah, that works for me. Works for me. I don't know about everybody else, but it works for me.
Okay. Could we do 6:30?
9th of what we talking about? I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
So August 9th at 6:30 at the Oregon building.
August 9, unless if I don't have a planning board meeting, I'll be okay. I think every second Tuesdays we have planning board.
Now it's third Tuesday, part of
What was that, Helene? I didn't hear that.
Right. I said every third Tuesday is Parks meeting got changed, so the 16th wouldn't work.
Right. This would be the second Tuesday.
Right. The 9th does. I'm just doing it also.
That wouldn't work for Gunder though.
Grinder, does
No.
that mean that you can't do that day?
No,
Oh,
that's
the
second
9th.
Tuesday planning board.
Isn't the 9th a Wednesday though?
Wednesday I can do it.
Tuesday.
Hold on. So we're talking.
Tuesday.
Oh, you're right. 9th is a.
Tuesday.
Okay.
Wednesday 10th I can do that.
Yeah, probably the 10th would be better too.
No, it's Mike was right when he called me out. It's because it's not Tuesday, Wednesday. It's Monday, Tuesday. So
Oh.
what about the 8th?
Yeah, 8th is good.
Can
The
folks
8th
do the
works.
8th?
Yeah.
We actually found one that worked. Yes. That was much easier than I thought it was going to be. Okay, so 8th, and does everyone know where the Oregon building is?
Yep.
I'm not sure if I can attend, but you don't really need me to attend anyway, right?
I hope you will be there if you can.
Yeah,
be
I
there.
would love to be there, but I may have a conflict, that's all.
Okay. Well,
You
also
don't
I'll
mind
send out.
sending an
Which
address?
building again?
Yeah, so I'll send out by email to the committee. I'll send out an invite so that you'll see like date, time, address, all that stuff. Awesome.
Which building is the war again?
It's the one on the right, as if you're heading down, and open square is on the left, like past City Hall.
Wait. What do you mean?
Like Blue Door Gatherings, one of the cannabis businesses
okay.
is back there.
All right. I know what you're talking about now. All right.
Awesome. All right, well, I hope
It's
everyone
near
can
the
make it.
blue door.
Awesome.
Right. The blue door gathering spot.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Well, thank you so much for our meeting, and I hope to see you all in August, and I'll definitely see you all the third Monday of September.
Meg,
Yes.
sorry, before you end, we might want to remind everyone about the Habitat dedication ceremony, Habitat
yes.
for Humanity on July 18th, Monday, July 18th.
Yes. So that's 10 a.m., right?
Yep.
So 10 a.m. on the 18th, they're dedicating the buildings on Jackson Street, one of which we paid for.
Both of them.
That's true.
CPA funded both of them.
So if anyone wants to come and support or hear the dedication, the families will be there. It's exciting. 10 a.m. on the 18th, Monday.
The mayor
Marco,
is
your
speaking.
hand was up. Was this your last meeting?
This is my last meeting. Yes.
Will you at least come to the August thing so that we can hug you and say goodbye?
if I can, I will. I'm actually going to be away the first couple of weeks of August, but if I'm included in the invitation, I would certainly try to attend. And I just wanted to thank everybody. It's been a real honor and a privilege to serve, and I'm happy to have known and worked with you all. Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you, Marco.
Yep.
Marco, it's good to work with you, Marco.
Yeah,
Thank you all
thank
so
you,
much.
I don't think I'd
Marco.
have probably met you in a different
Yep.
like path. So like it's awesome meeting you.
Yeah, I'm still going to live in Holyoke, so I'll still see you guys. But thank you all very,
Awesome.
very much.
Good.
Thank you, Marco.
Thank you, Marco.
That it? Is the meeting over?
I think
Yeah, I
that's
guess
motion
you
to
can
adjourn,
Way to end on a
move
But I
downer
have
note,
one-
Marco. That
I
was
have one-
terrible.
I have one question though about open meeting, right? About open meeting law and Zoom, right? So on the council, if you're not in person and you're on Zoom, then any vote has to be an open, what is it? A
Roll
call
call
for
vote.
vote, roll call for vote.
Yeah.
Do we have to do that too?
Yes, we're supposed to.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we ever have because no one ever pushed us on it, but we're happy to do that. We always record everything in the minutes in terms of who votes what. So
Yeah.
because effectively like a roll call in this setting is everyone's like I and one person's like nay, and then you record which person said no. So we've always been able to name, right, like who votes for
Right.
or against something. So even if we don't do a roll call, I still feel like we're meeting the spirit of like what the requirement is.
I just want to make sure, just in case, because I know that Jeff supposedly we're doing it now as city council, and we're supposed to
Yeah.
have been doing it. The planning committee's been doing it.
Well, we can start doing that. That's easy enough.
No, I'm not saying that we have to. I'm just saying, just making it aware because it's something new that came up for us on the council.
Sure. You got it.
All right,
All right,
motion to
everybody.
adjourn.
Hello, Mr. Marco.
Yes.
That's your last meeting. This is my first meeting.
All right. Well, welcome aboard, and all right. Thank you all.
Oh, boy. Thank you, and
All right. Good night, everyone.
thanks for
Good
your
night.
service.
All right. Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.